Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to an episode of the Awakened Souls podcast. I'm your host, Evan Brown, a Kundalini activator, spiritual guide, mentor, and hopefully just a great source of entertainment overall. Here we are in 2024, 2 weeks in. I am back from Paris. That trip was amazing, but that is not going to be what this episode is about. This episode is actually going to be focusing on the energy of 2024 and what that means, because I know I've shared it before. It's the year of ascension. But what does that mean? And how do we ascend in a world that seems to throw chaos at us and throw things at us that make it almost impossible to not get distracted? Like, this is one of the planets that is the hardest to ascend on. And the reason it's so hard is because we are so programmed from the beginning of our journey to be distracted. We are so programmed to forget ourselves. We are so programmed to lose sight of who we are and to lose sight of how to dig our roots back into Gaia, of how to connect to the mother, of how to reach back into the astral to the father. Like, we are taught and we are poured out and torn down and just beaten down to a point where it is almost impossible to truly move forward and to truly go in the way that we are supposed to go if we are not very careful. Like, it is very easily to get distracted. And so how do we maintain our balance of growth while not getting burnt out? Because healing is hard in some ways. There's a lot of hardship through healing, especially as we go back in time into past lives or even our childhoods or even just recognizing traumatic patterns, even all of these things. But the biggest thing you can do for yourself is to recognize that play and that embracing your inner child and letting your inner child, the one that was full of innocence, the one that was untainted by the world, the one that was lied to about the conditioning and the way that you have to be in order to be accepted, allowing that part of you to heal. And then not only allowing that part of you to heal, allowing that part of you to be what comes out, to be what embraces, to be what is living every day. Because our highest selves is pure. Our highest selves are joy. Our highest selves are playful. Our highest selves is a remembrance and a movement of being fully who we are. And I know that it is so easy to get distracted, especially on this journey. The littlest thing that can affect our humanity side, whether it's materialistic, whether it's something that might happen to friends or to family that makes you feel something very deeply, it's very easy to get distracted and to forget that this is just temporary. It's a simulation. We are spiritual beings. We will graduate from this planet. We will move on. We might come back because we want to. We might come back because we have unfinished business. We might come back because we didn't complete our contracts. We might come back because we got ourselves stuck. We might come back because we want to. But our journeys are things that we chose, and we chose it for the joy. We chose it for the light. We chose it for the laughter. We chose it sometimes to make a difference in other people's lives. So how do we do that? How do we ascend? How can 2024 be the year of ascension for us? It's by allowing those doubts of self, allowing those doubts of who you are, those doubts of what you can be to truly come to the surface. Allow them to come out, face them, see if it is something that you actually want in your life. Do you want those doubts? Do you want to believe what you're believing about yourself? Do you want to pour into yourself that way? Or would you like to heal that child, to focus on that inner self, to focus on who it is you could be, and to move forward in that and to move forward through that? We are so conditioned and so programmed to act our age, to let go of that playfulness, that immaturity, the I don't care about this, like I'm just going to live my life and not focus on the political and on this, that, and the other. And while there is a time and a space to stand up for injustice and to stand up for what's right and wrong, even Gandhi, Mother Teresa, like the Buddha, Jesus, like all of these beautiful beings of light stood their ground on certain aspects that were important to them. However, it is so very easy for us to lose ourselves in that with everyone else. It's so easy for us to lose ourselves in who we are and where we're meant to be by forgetting who we are. And I don't know about you, but that's not who I want to be. I want to be someone who allows my inner child to focus. So how do we start with this? We start by looking at our past relationships, our earliest relationships, and then looking at how those are still affecting us today. So if you were to sit and ask yourself honestly, maybe write these questions down, maybe take note that this is at the 6-minute mark or the 5-minute and 50-second mark, like take note of that and just ask yourself, what was I made to believe brought me worthiness in my relationship with my parental figures or the people who took care of me as I was a child? Do I still, as an adult, have some of those disbeliefs or have some of those things affecting the choices that I make today? And if the answer is yes, then you need to sit with that. Focus on that. Figure out how you can heal that. Sometimes this takes therapy. Sometimes this takes just crying it out. But most always, it takes making different choices than the ones we're making right now. Sorry, I had to get a sip of water. We are so focused and conditioned. Okay, you cried, you can go. A loved one died, you grieved for a few days, go back to work. Like, we are so conditioned to just keep going. But part of healing is rest. Part of healing is play. Part of ascending is focusing on those patterns that need to change, and not only changing them, but doing it in a way of love and doing it in a way that brings laughter and brings stability and brings change to yourself. When I asked my guides what was in store for me for Paris, like what did I need? I knew I needed to go on this trip, and I had so many divine appointments there, which I'm not going to get into on this podcast episode, but so many divine appointments were brought to me on this trip. And my guide said, play, just play. And I let that be my focus. I let that be what I did and what I focused on. And here's the thing, as I did that, I cannot even express to you all how much healing was brought to me. I was reminded of who I was before I lost myself in other people, before I lost myself in codependence. One thing that people might not know about me is that before I was married, I actually, right out of high school, moved to Europe, and I traveled, and I just lived over in Europe for over a year. And that's actually how I had met my ex-husband. We met in Europe and we met overseas. And so this trip was so healing for me because even though I was with a friend, I also spent probably about half of that time alone. Like I traveled on my own. I went and saw different things on my own. Like we separated and we just took time for ourselves, took time to grow. And as I was walking, I could feel my younger self, the one that was doing the work, that was truly starting to heal, that then lost herself the moment she entered a relationship that had toxic dynamic features that I fed into too. I take responsibility for my part in dropping boundaries and not trusting myself and so forth. Like I trust myself for all of that. And I take responsibility for my part in that. But being said, I recognize and I know that I am fearfully, wonderfully, and beautifully made. And I went there to play, and I went there to rediscover, and I went there with childlike wonder. And I felt myself return to who I was as my highest self. I felt myself return to who I was. And that's our calling. That is what 2024 is asking us to be. That is what the year of ascension means. It means a return to who we were before we came into these bodies. It is a true focus and a true acknowledgement of those things that need to change, and a true willingness to change them and to do the work that is required to change them. And I know sometimes some situations look like we're stuck. Some situations look like there's no way out. Some situations look like it just is what it is. But I promise you, there is a different way out in some way, shape, or form. It might not be the easiest. It might be the hardest thing you've ever had to do. It might be where you need to ask for help. It might be where you have to start all over again. But the key is your highest self would not have given you anything that you could not attain on this journey. I know my guides, when I set this journey up, they chose me for this because I am a master. I am a master at ascension. I am a master at remembering. I have remembered who I am many times before. I have come back to my highest self many times before. I have helped humanity ascend many times before. And I know this and I remember this. This is the easiest that it's ever been for me, but yet also the hardest at the same time. Because I have literally cleansed out lifetimes of generational traumas for my family line, for those that are coming after me and those that will go before me. And I know that this journey is not easy for everyone. I know that this journey is harder for some in retrospect than others, but we're all being called to do it. We're all being called to embrace our inner child. So the rest of this month, for the next 2 weeks, or even just for this week, I want you to try and find your laughter. And not in a way where, oh, I have to have a couple drinks so I can let loose and be giddy. Drinks are fine, whatever. Like, it is what it is. Doesn't mean it's going to be a healthy habit. Doesn't mean it's going to be something that constantly lowers your vibration or whatnot. Like, there's moderation in everything. But truly just find your joy. Live your life in a way that helps you feel safe, helps you feel growth, and helps you feel secure. This episode's going to be a little bit shorter. I am not really feeling like there's too much more to add to this specific thing. But as I spoke before, we're going to be going through all of these episodes that the guides have led me on, and we're going to be talking about how to ascend, how to let go, how to remember our past lives, what are our spiritual giftings, and so much more. So as always, thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate it, send me a comment, an email, whatever it is. You guys are the reason that I do this, and I'm so grateful for your listening ear. I'm so grateful to be with you today, and I hope you all have a wonderful Monday.